I'm just going to give you a little bit of tuning fork here. Just soak it in. Feels so good. Weighted tuning fork is so good on the body. If you're looking for good tuning forks, I recommend biofieldtuning.org or .com, not sure. But they even say it on the tuning fork, biofield tuning. So if you're not getting a biofield tuning fork, the quality I'm not gonna swear to, but their tuning forks are amazing. How's everybody today? How is everybody today? It's Monday. Woohoo! Such a beautiful day. You know, I start my weeks Monday, like if I have a calendar, I don't like the Sunday through Saturday week. I like the Monday through Sunday week. So today's the first day of the week. And something about Mondays that I think we should all kind of embrace is the, not Monday, should not be embraced. It should be, okay, it's gonna be a great week. And what are we gonna do to make this week great? With each other. I've got a busy week. I've got stuff to do. I'm feeling a little bit better, so I plan on like really cranking in and getting some things done. I have meetings and clients, and it's awesome. If you have not joined me here before, my name is Red Moon Eagle, and I do daily devotions. There are more than 365 daily devotions on this channel. I've been doing this since 2015, I believe, 2017, somewhere in there, long time. And I am very passionate about daily devotions being a place where I'm gonna draw oracle cards, and we talk about a theme. So I read a little bit about the theme, and then we talk a little bit about what that means. Like, how do we take that positive thing and take it out into the world no matter what's happening in the world? And I do have a separate playlist that I keep separate that is probably a little bit more on the political side. I'm very much an activist. I'm very much about being involved, and I think everybody should be involved, but I also understand that not everybody can, and that's okay. There is no place for judgment here. There is no place for othering someone, okay? This is a place of inclusion. This is a place of diversity. This is a place of many beliefs. This is a place of many heritages and many cultures. And so that's what this channel's for. I go live Monday through Friday, somewhere around between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. It kind of depends on my day. Well, thank you for the new watcher. Thank you for your comments. I am really bad about actually addressing those, so I will try to be a little bit more engaging, but that's not my forte. So we're gonna keep going with Alana Fairchild's Medicine Heart Oracle. At Samhain this year, I drew 2 cards. One was the 32 Wings, Blood, and Bone. We've already been through that entire card. And this was the other card, 33 Ascendency Capacity. I love this card. It's a beautiful lion. He's so handsome. And Ascendency Capacity is like a full 5 pages deep. So I know I've done this card a couple days, but we still have a page and a half to read. And so I'm going to dive into reading that, and then we're going to talk about it, okay? So let's see, Ascendency Capacity. To develop your own ascendancy capacity, explore and express a practice that works for you. You will know the value of the practice for you based on its effects. You will feel trust and regular reflection on your own behavior and mindset, noting subtle shifts in the short term and having patience over the long term, as you have the work time to take effect within and evoke soul evolution. Instant gratification is not a mindset that you want to associate with your spiritual practice. I'm going to read that again. Instant gratification is not a mindset that you want to associate with your spiritual practice, but you do want to feel connection with it and have some faith in it. What you will find is your field of power increases, is that you will become more shamanistic in soul quality, capable of simultaneously living and communicating in more than one dimension with awareness. There will be very human responses to your commitment to practice, including resistance, boredom, doubt, fatigue, discomfort, possibly physical discomfort, emotional or psychological levels. You can gently, compassionately accept this part of the integration process. Every time you do this, you increase your capacity, and in doing so will naturally attract experiences of delight, ecstasy, insight, healing, and transformation. Yet you do not pursue the work for those experiences. You will turn it into yet another attachment. That would turn it into another attachment. You do the work because this is the spiritual path that you're committed to, and that all things arise from it, enjoyable and difficult, are part of the practice. You experience, you let go, you keep practicing. Through your practice, you will become increasingly empowered as a spiritual presence, a light in the world, a connected to a peaceful, stabilized truth within the a light in the world, and connected to a peaceful, stabilizing truth within you that nourishes in a way that the outer world would never quite deliver, even on its best and brightest day. You will rise up rather than feel imposed upon. You are free to choose your life, your responses, your path, yet you are tethered to a guiding grace that grounds you in a higher purpose. You are destined to become the divinely vitalized, wild human shimmering with spiritual grace for the greater good of all beings. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so one of the things about ascendancy capacity and what today's reading is very much about is finding a practice that works for you. And I talk about this all the time on Daily Devotional. You can go back and find all these videos on this, but practice is not, I do not like the term practice is perfect, okay? I'm going to argue with that all day long. What practice is reinforcing your connection to your physical body, especially when it talks about spiritual practice. So spiritual practice is not I'm going to be a higher spirit than you. I'm going to become better than you. That's not what spiritual practice is for. Spiritual practice is to anchor you in your physical body and help you have the capacity to hold more of your spiritual connection out in the world, okay? You cannot mentally, just with your mind, you cannot just mind spiritual capacity. That's not how this works. There's a wheel. I don't know where my wheel went to. Where'd my wheel go, Astra? Oh, it's completely over there. Okay. There's a wholeness to spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is a combination of the 5 pillars of self-care. So water, food, breath, movement, and rest. So those are things that you can do in the world, okay? And then the other part of spiritual practice is okay, that's the body stuff, right? So the 5 pillars of self-care: water, food, breath, movement, rest. Those are all the 5 pillars of the physical body. And then in spiritual practice, when you add on to it consistency and growth within your world, your connection to your spiritual self, when you practice regularly, whatever that looks like, you start to enhance your capacity, you grow. But you're not going to grow past where you can integrate that growth. So I'll use a really simple example. So say that you've decided that you're going to do yoga every day, right? Okay. So you're doing breath work, you're doing stretches, you're doing all these things with yoga, and you're studying yoga. And maybe you might decide to study Buddhism or Hinduism, or you might decide to just incorporate it into your Christian practice or your pagan practice, right? And then once you do those things, you might find that your spiritual awareness to your body opens up. You might find that you have more patience. You might have more capacity to have conversations with people about things. But that doesn't make you ahead or behind anybody else. No one's ahead of anyone else. We are all exactly where that we're supposed to be. Now, the other thing that comes with spiritual practices with your integration into your life is, say you have an encounter with someone, and that encounter puts you in a position where you have to deal with maybe your radical anti-racism, right? Like you might be in that place where you're struggling with ancestral racism, or you might be in a place where you're struggling with radical decolonization, or maybe you are struggling with radical patriarchy, or maybe you are struggling with radical worldview structures, right? And these are uncomfortable. These are uncomfortable. It makes you need to kind of step back and go, okay, where did that belief come from? You know, this person is really like in my face about it. And you're like, okay, well, what in my spiritual world has opened this up that's made it tender, right? Like it's really tender. I'm not sure what to do with it. Breathe. Always, always come back to breath. Go back to your 5 pillars. Breath, you breathe in and out, drink some charged water, eat some charged food. Not food like substances. I'm not talking about the chips and the burritos. I'm talking about like real food. If you can identify what the raw ingredient is, that's the food you should be eating for this anyway, right? Like really kind of come back to the self-care piece. And then maybe you do have to remove yourself from your friends. Maybe you do need to like go lay down and rest. Maybe instead you go for a long walk and then you go for a rest. Leaning into your 5 pillars in collaboration with the spiritual work moving forward helps you align and have a greater capacity. You know, one of the things that I've had people say things to me throughout the years, and I think they think they're being complimentary, and I think that's awesome. And also, I have to be very careful that I check my ego when I hear things like this. And I've heard things like, oh, you're such a guru, or you're such a teacher, or you're so enlightened, or it'll come at me like, well, you think you're so enlightened, or you think you're so spiritual, or if you're so good, why are you not doing this, that, and the other, right? Because that's not the path necessarily for me. And yes, I am a teacher, 100%. That's one of my life themes. It's something that I can't, no matter how much I think that I'm going to stop teaching, the world presents me with more students. And for me, teaching is not, it has in the past been very much ego. It's very much been like woven into the fabric of duties, right? Or calling. But one of the things that as you grow in your spiritual capacity, my understanding of my own life theme as teacher has changed. And that's what's beautiful about ascendancy capacity. Knowing the value of the practice for you based on its effects. Practicing teaching for me comes from a humble place, a place of teaching is not really me teaching. When I came to a place of being really humble with it, I realized that it's the practice, the spiritual practice of teaching that I learn most from my students. And then it becomes more part of my spiritual practice rather than attached to an ego that I know a thing that I'm going to share. I know lots of things, But that doesn't mean the things that I know are meaningful to the students. Sometimes it's the experience with the student that anchors and creates a much more humble, authentic connection, because the question they asked actually taught me a totally new way of looking at something. So trusting, this is what the book is saying, right? You need to trust a regular reflection on your own behavior and mindset, noting subtle shifts in short term and having patience over the long term, okay? So I use tuning forks, right? Like every day I use my sonic slider, I strike it. It's really hard to hear if you're, I don't know if you can. So it's a weighted fork, so it doesn't have as much of a loud sound, but it does have a sound. I love the sound. So I use my sonic slider every single day. I use it on my body. Sometimes I just listen to it. Astra sometimes lets me use it on her because it's so vibrationally yummy. I have my legs crossed, just having a hard time settling. Would you like me to move so you can sit? There we go. So I use my sonic slider every day. I always have a glass of water and a glass of tea when I sit down and do daily devotionals. I've already drank 2 of these this morning. First thing in the morning, I actually upped my water because we're going into winter in Montana and it gets really dry. So normally, I'd say in the summer, I have 1 of these in the morning, but in the winter time, I sometimes switch to 2 of these in the morning, and it's charged water. I have a pitcher over there on the counter, and I fill my pitcher and I charge it. And then I drink from that pitcher so I don't have to keep charging every single time I get a glass of water when I'm busy doing computer work or crafting upstairs in my studio. I have my bullet tea first thing in the morning. I say bullet tea. It's cream and protein and tea. So I get my caffeine and my protein that gets me started. I do my stretches first thing in the morning when I'm still in bed. Like most people, you get up, you go to the bathroom, and some people just get up and get going. They take a shower to get going in the morning. I used to be that person. As I've gotten older, my skin's gotten a little different. I don't take a shower every single morning when I wake up because it dries me out really bad now. But what I do is I get up and I go do my ablutions in the bathroom, and then I go back to bed and I do my stretches, I do my breath exercises. This morning I took a little extra time and I wrote in my journal, my health journal. My health journal's next to my bed because that seems to be the only time I ever remember to write in it. So you see, like, I found what kind of works for me. When I was in my 20s, if I rolled over in bed and stayed in bed, I'd just go back to sleep. So in my 20s, it was you roll out of bed, I had a glass of water right there, and I would drink my glass of water as I'm walking my butt to the bathroom, and I would draw a shower, and I would take a shower. That's the first thing I did, is do the bathroom stuff. And now it's a little different in my life. So as you grow, your ablutions, your spiritual practices would change. Now, it sounds like I'm telling you, like, oh my God, why are you telling me all your personal morning things? Because they're part of my spiritual practice. One of the things that has been the hardest thing to explain to people my whole life as a teacher, as a person out in the world, that it probably looks from the outside in that I'm either doing things like everybody else is doing, which I am, and that I'm doing things in a weird, different way, which I also am. Because everything I do, I intentionally really, really try hard to anchor in that everything that I do is connected to something spiritually significant to me. So behind me, that's my home day-to-day altar. So it's up high, it's kind of behind me, so the cat doesn't get on it and play with the feathers and everything, right? But I light a candle, not every day, but every day I'm moving something around and I'm saying thank you to the divine, however you want to look at the divine. Is the divine a goddess and a god? Is the divine Jesus and Mary? Is the divine Kali and Krishna? Like, what is the divine for you? So when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I have a little altar in my bathroom. It's my bathroom altar. So when I get up and I go to the bathroom and I get refill my glass of water like I did this morning, yeah, nice, Jesus and Mary. So I refill my water, and as I'm standing in the bathroom, I have a little altar there. And I also have pictures of my kiddos in the bathroom because that's a thing for me. And I send a prayer to my kids every morning as I'm drinking my second glass of water. That's a moment of sacredness. When I go back to bed to do my stretches and my breath work, that's the place that I do my morning prayer. Okay, so I always do prayer. I always do prayer. Prayer is so important. Prayer does not have to be, if you're not Christian, that's okay. If you are Christian, it's okay. If you are spiritual, that's still okay. It doesn't matter what religion or belief system or gods and goddesses that you want to address. They are all valid. They are all valid. Whatever makes you feel safe, whatever makes you feel at peace, whatever helps you connect in to you being a spiritual entity living in this human meat suit, because this is a human meat suit. This is a shell. It belongs to us in our life. It's the one and only body we get this go around, but you're a spiritual entity living in a meat suit experience. So whatever spiritual practice helps you connect into the divine of who you are as a spiritual entity. And I truly, no matter what your religion, your belief, your spirituality, I truly think that prayer is so fundamental to how we build our spiritual capacity. Now, I grew up very much like many people in the West. I grew up in at least part of my youth was in a Christian home, and I use that word loosely, Christian, because my father was not Christian. He was very agnostic. He was like, whatever y'all want to believe in, whatever makes you feel happy. My mother was almost fundamentalist Episcopalian, if that's a thing. And I lived in the South. So the South has a church on every darn corner. I mean, they're just everywhere. And so I explored all of the Christian churches I had available to me. And something that I learned over time, I guess I had kind of already known it from some of the things that I had learned with my great-grandma and my grandma, which was that no matter who you are in the world, no matter what people you come from, prayer is integral to the connection of the spiritual entity in the meat suit to the divine. And when I talk about charging your water, what I mean is connecting to the element of water and praying that your water will be infused with divine light so that you can drink it and you take that divine light into your body. Praying over our food is not just giving thanks for our food. Praying over our food is infusing the food and honoring the nutrition and the light and the spirituality of where our food came from and why we're putting it in our bodies. Prayer, when I pray in the morning, it is a moment or two of thankfulness that I woke up and that I had beautiful dreams, or that I dreamed at all. Or I think that's one of the reasons my health journal is always next to my bed at night or in the morning, when, either I write in the morning or I write in the night. And it's this thankfulness, like, oh, okay, this is my spirit, this is my meat suit temple. It's the only one I get. What's going on with it? Because I will sometimes just bypass the discomfort in my body to get things done in the real world. And that's really toxic for me. It's toxic for everybody. I think we all do it. But the journal helps me in a moment of prayer, right? The prayer is to connect into the physical body, okay? The honoring of the physical body. There was a very interesting scrolling question. I thought we were praying for the food not to be poisoned. That is a good angle. I'm not going to say that's wrong. because there are some historical accounts of people writing about using prayer to make sure the food isn't poison, right? And I think there's also some indigenous tribes that also go that direction. So I don't think that's wrong either. You know, I think if that's what you use prayer for, that's fine. I look at prayer just a little bit differently with food, that I'm thanking where it came from. I'm honoring the plant from which it came. I'm honoring the animal for its sacrifice. I'm honoring the, you know, in Western American culture, I honor the trucker that brought it to the store. I'm honoring the workers in the factory that packaged the food. I am honoring the person who picked the food, whomever they may be, or the farmer that was driving the tractor that picked the food. I am thanking the farmer who grew the food. I am thanking the farmer and the plant from which the seed came from, that planted the seed. I am thanking the earth herself for nourishing that seed so that plant could grow. And same thing with the honoring of the animal. Like, I'm thanking the animal itself with its sentient awareness and connection to earth, the ecosystems of earth, and saying thank you for the sacrifice so that I may be nourished by that. Because one of the things with so much of our culture is that fast food is a really good example. I too have eaten fast food. It's not like I have never eaten fast food before. I am not above and beyond anyone else. But I will acknowledge that fast food is extraordinarily toxic to our bodies. It's extraordinarily toxic spiritually to our bodies. It's a drive in, get food in the car, shove it into our mouths, and keep going, right? And it's not healthy. We're not slowing down. We're not allowing food to nourish us. And it comes from a real place. It comes from culturally our industrial revolution, right? Where we're speeding up, we're eating just to get enough energy to keep working. The Great Depression that hit the world, oh my goodness, that is like, it's been part of our paradigm in the world is fast, go, 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 go. And we are treating one of the key pillars of how we care for our bodies in this world, food. It's a key pillar. That key pillar is bypassed. We bypass food. And unfortunately, we bypass it through neglect and just speeding up, and we miss the prayer piece. We miss the time it takes to pray over our food and honor where it comes from. Now, I've been to meals with extraordinarily religious families and friends where their food prayer is like 15 minutes, and you know, even I can say, I probably wouldn't do it that way. I love to cook, so I pray as I cook. I honor the ingredients as I put them together. This is something, you know, my grandmas would talk about. They would go, food should never be made in anger. Food should never be made when you're hurting, when you're angry with someone, because then you put all that hurt and that fear and that anger and that shame and disappointment in your food. And it doesn't taste good. You only put love in your food. And I would add to that, you put love and you put thankfulness into your food as you're making it, so that when it gets to the table or it gets to the person it's meant for, they take in that love, and their prayer is thankfulness that they have that. But you the cook, you've kind of done the extra work, right? Like you've done the making the potion of food, because I think of food is chemistry and potioning, and I'm very pagan Wiccan in my perspective of the cauldron and the food. I always giggle a little bit. It's like I'm making a magic potion and making a meal because it's fun. So, because cooking is chemistry and it's fun. So the big thing about today's card is ascendancy capacity really has to do with what are the practices that you do that lead you into a place of peace, a place of bliss, a place of connection that keep your ability to have the capacity to continue to grow. And you're gonna have things that come into your world that trigger. They're gonna trigger a shutdown, and that's okay, because those triggers help you grow. Those triggers help you stretch into the next layer of that capacity, the next growth opportunity. And we're all in this together. We're all in this together. None of us are doing this alone. I mean, that's one of the reasons I started this channel, is that I really think we need to lean into one another. When we're our own individual silos without connection, we do feel like we're doing it alone, and we feel like, well, I get the thing and nobody else gets the thing. Well, that's not the way it really is. We are so connected, and we have this amazing opportunity through technology to continue to connect. So I want you to take this out into the world, my beautiful peeps. Take it out into the world that you can pray. And prayer is not organized religion. Prayer is acknowledging, it's connecting, it's saying, I am a spiritual entity, I'm in this meat suit, and then find what the things that you do throughout the day that connect you back in with prayer. I've said it for years, I do things very mindfully in my life that either you notice in extreme, or you don't notice at all. And that's just how I do things. But you do your things, whatever makes you happy. But know this, that when you're doing things mindlessly, it's harder to connect in and stretch that spiritual capacity and give yourself space to be connected with each other authentically, with integrity, with understanding, with capacity, with compassion, with love, and with space. Your capacity is holding space for someone else to be themselves, to be in connection with what they need in the world. We're not supposed to be doing this in silos of isolation, okay? So I hope you all have a beautiful day, my friends. Go out there and stretch, have a little bit of a prayer, find what you can do mindfully in your life. And I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I will see you in prayer another day. Blessed be.